Detective Michael Harris thought it would be another dull morning in the sleepy town of Willow Creek. A town so quiet you could hear the church bells from 3 streets away. But that morning, over the clink of coffee cups and the smell of fresh pancakes, he heard something. Something he was never meant to hear, and it would change everything. Willow Creek wasn't the kind of place where crimes went unsolved, at least not on the surface. But 3 weeks earlier, a man named Robert Keller vanished after leaving the local gas station. No body, no evidence, just gone. Harris had been assigned to the case after the trail went cold. And when an anonymous tip said, "Check the diner, listen closely," he knew exactly where to go. That morning, he walked in like any other customer. Old leather jacket, baseball cap pulled low, a newspaper under his arm. The diner had maybe 6 people inside, truckers, an elderly couple, and 2 men at the far end of the counter. They looked rough, unshaven, tense. One kept glancing at the door. Harris ordered coffee and pie, sat 2 stools away, and pretended to read his paper. But then, he heard it. "They still haven't found him," one of the men said, his voice low but sharp. "Good. Long as no one checks there, we're fine." Harris's grip on his coffee mug tightened. "There? Where?" The second man chuckled. "You worry too much. The river's high this time of year. No one's finding anything." Harris tried to keep his breathing steady. He scribbled something in his paper, a note to himself. "River. Check South Bend." But the men weren't done talking. "Still, you heard about the guy asking questions? The detective?" "Yeah," the other said. "If he comes poking around, we'll deal with him like we dealt with Keller." Harris felt his heart pounding in his ears. They didn't know they were talking to the detective. The waitress came by to refill their coffee. One of the men reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and slid it across the counter. Harris caught a glimpse. Coordinates. The men paid and left. Harris gave them a 2-minute lead before walking out into the cold morning air. He followed them from a distance, keeping his steps light on the wet pavement. The road curved out toward the old sawmill by the river, a place shut down for over 20 years. From behind a rusted truck, he watched as they walked to the water's edge. One of them bent down, pulled a heavy trash bag from under a pile of driftwood, and shoved it further into the current. Harris snapped photos with the small camera hidden in his jacket. His hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from the weight of what he was seeing. Harris radioed back up and waited in the shadows. The men lit cigarettes, laughing as if tossing whatever was in that bag into the river was no big deal. When the sheriff's deputies arrived, they pulled the men in and dragged the bag back to shore. But when Harris unzipped it, his stomach dropped. It wasn't Robert Keller. It was another man, unknown, tied up, and weighted with bricks. Keller's body was never found, and that's when Harris realized Willow Creek didn't just have one missing person case. It had a serial killer. The men confessed to the second murder, but never to Robert Keller's disappearance. The case remains open to this day, and somewhere in the quiet streets of Willow Creek, someone knows the truth. What do you think happened to Robert Keller? Let us know in the comments.